Hello and welcome. Hope you are having a wonderful day today. We are talking about Deuteronomy Chapter 26 today. And if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button, and any likes and shares would greatly be appreciated. So, in the beginning of today's chapter, we read about harvest offerings and tithes. And I'll just begin here with verse 1. It says, "When you enter the land of the Lord your God, enter the land the Lord your God is giving you as a special possession, and you have conquered it and settled there. Put some of the first produce from each crop you harvest into a basket and bring it to the designated place of worship, the place the Lord your God chooses for his name to be honored. Go to the priest in charge at that time and say to him, 'With this gift I acknowledge to the Lord your God that I have entered the land he swore to our ancestors he would give us.' The priest will then take the basket from your hand and set it before the altar of the Lord your God." And it continues here talking about how after the people entered the promised land, they were to basically recite or tell the story of Jesus delivering them from being slaves in Egypt all the way now to the promised land. Now, the end of today's chapter wraps up with a call to obey the Lord's command. So again, we see the emphasis that God is putting on obeying the instructions that he had given the people of that time. Now, my footnote that I want to share with you has to deal with the portion of today's chapter that talks about when the people retold how God delivered them. And it says, "The recitation of God's dealings with his people helped the people remember what he had done for them." What is the history of your relationship with God? Can you put into clear and concise words what God has done for you? Find a friend with whom you can share your spiritual journey. Telling your stories to each other will help you clearly understand your personal spiritual history, as well as encourage and inspire you both. And this made me think of something. So basically what it's telling us to do here is to share or recount our own testimony. And I think sometimes in the world, if we're around other believers, we hear these amazing testimonies of people being delivered from drugs or abusive situations or sinful lifestyles or horrible conditions, these big elaborate things that God has done. But did you know that if your testimony is not as big, that's a testimony in itself. I used to think, I had a good childhood growing up and didn't have to go through a lot of the things that a lot of people do. And I questioned where my testimony would kind of start. And I had a friend in Bible study once say that her husband was the same way, that he said, I've not really been through that many trials and tribulations, or I've not had to overcome something really, really hard. And that is a testimony in itself. She told her husband, she was like, well, you know what? That's a testimony because God provided you so far with that life free of some of the obstacles and challenges that others face. So no matter what we've been through, whether it's huge or it's teeny tiny, we have a testimony, and we can look at those situations in either light as being our testimony. So I encourage you, even if you don't share it with a friend, think about your own personal testimony. Think about when your relationship began with Jesus, and think about what he has brought you through thus far. So that was Deuteronomy chapter 26. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.